There we go. Can you hear me?
How we doing? Is that better?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, for some reason our mic wasn't working, so we just ditched it. That's all good though.
Okay.
How was shooting? All good?
Good. Yeah, it was a good session. When kids are home, that's why I've been so iffy. First of all, I left my phone at the lake, and so I don't
No,
even have a
yeah, it's
phone to
fine.
access it. So I don't know what anybody's schedule is. I was supposed to shoot with him this morning, but I didn't know when. And then we're gonna go golfing here in a little bit. So that's the time frame. We better get going.
Hey, it sounds like you're living the dream. You got shooting in the morning, golfing in the afternoon. That's a good life.
I got to mix in a meal here once in a while. I think would be nice. But yeah, it isn't bad.
A little bit of fuel for the golf. No,
Exactly.
I appreciate you coming on. I know how busy you are. Um, when I reached out to David, and he hit me back and said, "Yeah, my dad's in." I I couldn't believe it because I know how busy you are. I know you're especially busy in the off season for all your kids because they're all home and you guys are hanging out. And so I said, "Well, that's awesome." I gave it about a 5% chance that he'd say yes, and David said I gave it even less.
Did he really?
So I was like, he said, "Yeah, I think he just kind of knows. He knows you're busy. He knows you're doing this stuff, and maybe he had the foresight of seeing you lose your phone or leave it at the lake and making
Yeah.
things a little bit more complicated, I guess.
No, I'm glad to do it.
How
So
you?
it's fun. It's fun talking to people. I mean, I've enjoyed watching you, and then you played with my boys and against, and it's all fun
Yeah.
stuff. It's what the world's made of.
Was David's still in Puerto Rico right now,
He's
right?
in Puerto
Or are
Rico.
they getting close to finishing up? They finish end of June ish.
Yep. Yeah, they're just kind of getting
That's good.
towards the playoff push right now.
And Michael in France this last year
Michael was in Po, France, and
with
that finished. And
Po.
yeah, he's been back for about a week, is all though, not long.
And then are both Lindsay and Laura playing pro
Lindsay
as
did.
well, or just
Lindsay
one of them?
did, but she's moved on. She's now the mother of two, married with a mother of two, and living here
Oh
and
yeah.
doing a gazillion things. So she's really busy. And Laura had played overseas. She played in Hanover last year, and she'll play there next year too. So great
Cool.
experience.
Um, how many of them are in Washington, at least in the off season?
Everybody comes back here for the off season.
That's awesome.
Well, it is. Yeah, I mean, how lucky are we?
Yeah.
Our youngest Sam, he plays at Lewis and Clark State. That's NAIA school in Lewiston, Idaho, real close by. So
Yeah.
he's in his. It depends on how you looked at the COVID years, whether he's close to done or if he's got a couple more. But
Right.
we're enjoying that too.
Right. He could stretch it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. No, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I think I was trying to remember the first time I met you, and I could be wrong, but I think it was my freshman year when I was at BYU. We had just actually upset Gonzaga. Anytime we beat Gonzaga, it was an upset, unfortunately for us. But Coach Sloan was getting his number, or his career wins hung up in the rafters of well, what is now returned to the Delta Center, and we had like these awesome tickets that got us in to meet you and Carl, and I remember you were like, "Hey, I remember you. You just kicked our butt," and it was like one of the proudest moments of my life. I was like, "Wow, John Stockton knows who I am."
Well, what?
And then you go 5 years down the road. I was on the same team as David, and you came out I think two or three times that spring to watch him play. Got to know you a little better, and then I've been on Team USA now with him twice. So I feel like I see you about every 6 months now. So we gotta keep that going.
We put it on the calendar actually at our house. We got to see Eric every 6 months, or life's not complete. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you
that's good.
accommodated it.
That's good. I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm that intrusive into the Stockton family. Um, are you? So you're at the lake house right now. Are you following the finals much or not really?
No, I'm not the lake. We've been at the lake a bunch. I'm at home, and that's what we have to come home to play basketball unless we want to shoot in the driveway type
Yeah.
deal.
Oh, okay.
And so we come home a
Cool.
lot. It's a place we love, but unfortunately we can't spend all our time out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you following the finals then right now?
Only numerically. I mean, I think they played tonight. It's 1-1 and one. I haven't seen any of the games for a while. Not no
Yeah.
special intent there to try not to see them. It's just I'm enjoying
Right.
what I'm doing, and
Life.
I'd rather be out doing stuff than watching anything, frankly.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I think Denver. I'm the same. I actually don't even have cable when I'm home in the summer, so I just follow the stats. Denver did win last night, so they're up 2-1, and I think the next game is tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm kind of the same as you. I don't even know. But yeah, let's jump right in. The big point of this podcast is to help. I mentioned this as we were communicating, getting a time down that worked for both of us, but I really want athletes, especially high school, college, and also pro, obviously, because that's where I am in my career. But I want athletes to just have a little bit of insight into how they can just take one step closer. They can prepare just a little bit more now for life after their career, because it's inevitably going to end, and it's very rarely going to be as long as, for example, yours was, right?
Right.
I really wanted you on the show because you did it yourself as a player. You know, you did things outside of basketball while you were playing, but then also you've had, every single one of your kids, if I'm not mistaken, has played a college sport, mostly basketball. I think Houston played football, right?
Right. Right.
And so really, I kind of I want to hear from your viewpoint as a player, how to do those things, but also as a parent, as your kids are getting ready to go do this in college, what advice were you giving them? Hey, sports are great, pursue it. That's what I did. I love it, and I'm sure they all looked up to you and wanted to be like you, but you probably recognize they're not going to be you. So how did you help encourage them to balance that and to explore things outside of sports and get ready for that career that's going to come after?
Well, I never wanted them to be me. Listen, I'm as flawed as the next guy, and I walked onto a team that needed what I did pretty well and appreciated what I did, and
Yeah,
it's good fortune to do that. It's not everybody gets that opportunity, so I think, boy, if you're going to play sports, I think you got to put it all in there. I mean, it's if you want to be a good basketball player, you lay it all out there every night. You treat every game like it's the world championship, whether it's a rap ball game or you're out in the driveway with your brother or sister, whatever. And um,
yeah,
that's those are things that are I don't think you can replace those. I mean, because that competitive aspect, I'm obviously not 6'11" or 6'8" or any factor above 6'1", so I'll never understand what it's like
right,
where people want you on every team. You have to, even to get in on a rap ball game, I almost have to beg or wave my hand and or get next.
right,
So there's humility in that, there's drive in that, there's nastiness in that, and I think that has to go with you with whatever you do.
yeah,
I think it's really important. Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, I think the guys that are running out of practice as quick as they can to go study or go do commercials or go do their next thing they're going to do in life, I don't think they're going to be very good at the current thing they're doing in life. And again, that's not just
right.
basketball. So you have to be prepared to keep your eyes open, to keep your knees bent, and be ready to adjust. But boy, I'm big on committing all in for whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. So do you see it more as you gave them that advice to be, hey, be in the present, if you're gonna do it, be all in, because then you're gonna learn the principles and sort of this pattern recognition for later in life. You're gonna use all the same things you're using now in sports.
I think you learn everything you need to learn about life in sports, maybe even in a given game or one practice. Boy, there's
Yeah,
success, there's failure, there's learning, there's paying attention, kind of the things we just discussed. Um, Nothing's given to you. Man, I mean, you want to find it, you can find it in a short period of time in a sport, unless you're just floating around not caring about it, not paying attention to anything. So,
right,
humility is a big deal, I think. You're Today in sports, you got moms taking you to every game since from the time you're about first grader on. Oh, you got to be at practice at 3, and then you got to be at this practice at 3:15, and so on. We rode our bikes. We snuck into gyms. We picked games. We bothered guys in the park to play one-on-one with us. Um,
yeah,
those things, I think, are missing and valuable.
yeah. No, it's super super different. I've noticed. It sounds like it's the same up where you're at. And are you still pretty involved with a couple different AAU programs, or is that something you did before, but not as much now.
I've never been an AAU program guy. Now, I coached a team. I coached
Yeah,
my youngest Samuel from second grade through high school. We had great experience.
yeah,
I was assistant coach.
yeah. I guess I should say youth, kind of youth system more than AAU. Yeah,
Yeah, and well, the AAU, I mean, they're playing, they're on the road every day. I kind of abhor that. I don't think you're gaining things by spending all this money, getting kids the perfect shoes, the perfect bag, the perfect trip, the perfect hotel, and you travel all over the country to play strangers. When I think what we did with our last group, just as an example, and they were probably as successful as anybody that I've coached. We
yeah,
stayed home a lot. We played a few tournaments and played a couple big ones, but we didn't make it our summer. And we've got older kids, high school players, college players, ex-pro players, just to come play us. And I'd rep
yeah.
from the bench, and we had a clock, and our kids were good, and they knew how to play, and yet they're getting hammered by these older guys who weren't prepared.
Right.
They had no plays. It's that experience I think is more valuable than driving around trying to play another AAU team who are coming together on Friday with as much talent as they can muster and playing against you. So
Right.
I don't know. That's just my
Yeah.
take, but you take it or leave it.
No, I agree. And the reason I brought it up and asked about your experience there in Washington is I feel like in Utah it's the same. I see kids younger and younger and younger with all these things you're talking about. You know, the nicest shoes I've ever seen. They have a busy schedule all summer. They're playing one sport year round, and I was the same. Even for my generation, you know, I'm 28. It wasn't like that. You know, our summer was to have fun, to also to get better at whatever we were doing, but to play multiple sports, go to different camps, stay local. I didn't really start traveling until I got to high school, you know, even past like sophomore, junior year. That's when AAU kicked in for me. And I personally, I agree. I think that's kind of the way to go. Did your kids play multiple sports then? I actually can't even think if David and I have talked about this. Um, I assume he did because David might be the most competitive person I know. And so I don't see him limiting that to just basketball.
No,
But I can't remember if he played anything else.
no, all our kids played at least three sports, and I didn't force any of them.
Yeah,
They found their teams, they found whatever they had to do their own work. But I think the minimum any of our kids played were three sports, and some played more. I mean,
minimum. That's a lot.
it is, and it takes a lot of work
Yeah,
as a parent just to, they're, oh, I'm on a team, Dad. I got to be at practice at 5. Well, your other practice is at 7. How are you going to do this? And so they can't drive.
right.
So you got to buckle down and do it if that's the route they want to take. And sometimes you got to just say, look, you got to decide because we have 6 kids. We can't manage this. And so what they would do is either
Yeah,
choose not to play or they'd call a friend and say, listen, if I'm going to play, I need to get a ride. Can you help me out? And, that's
right.
learned, how to adapt. And I think that's good.
Yeah, there. I mean, yeah, with 6 kids, we were the same. I mean, this is all resonating with me. There's 7 of us, so as soon as you branched out to a second or third activity, it got a little dicey. You know, you were gonna miss practices or have to quit something and pick, which we all ended up doing. But there's literally just not enough hours for parents to be at all these places and driving and doing
We,
all that. But
we
no,
did run a,
I think Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like my whatever my kids decide, we have one boy, we have a second one coming this summer. I want them to play multiple. Like I just think it's so important to get that balance and take like for me, you've seen me play. I play with brute force. I'm super physical, and I think I got that because I played lacrosse, for example. And I think that's also part of the appeal for me in playing multiple sports is it's gonna help you get better at whatever you end up deciding to focus on. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that as well.
I remember a very good college baseball coach told me once, he said, when we're out recruiting baseball guys, and we've got 2
Yeah,
guys that are equal, but one guy played football as well, they'll always take the football guy, always. They have
yeah.
just a greater range of experiences. Their hands are stronger, whatever, whatever. And so I think there's huge value in all sports.
No, that's cool. Um, what did you play then growing up? I know I did some research on you. I found out I think your grandfather played in the NFL in the 1920s. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you grew up just in a world of sports, and you've been in deep in that world ever since. So did you play other sports growing up, and did you think about doing that all the way through college as well, or was it just basketball by the time you got there?
Well, I'd always wished that I had the body, let's say like LeBron James, to where everybody's saying, look, if you'll just come to
We all
practice,
do. We all wish we had that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But we'll wait for you. Just get to practice when you can. But it wasn't ever that guy. So I played football,
Right.
basketball, and baseball. It's because that's what my brother did. That's what all that was available. I mean, we didn't even have soccer teams at school. We didn't have volleyball or lacrosse, anything else. It was football, basketball, and
Yeah.
baseball, and I played all of them.
Yeah.
And then ran a little
That's
track in
cool.
my eighth grade year. So that was about it.
But by the time you got to college though, you had zeroed in on obviously GU doesn't have a football team. I don't know if they have a baseball team. I would assume they do,
They
but
do. They
it
do.
was just basketball from there on out.
Yeah, well, I was about senior year in high school. I mean, it's funny how kids are recruited now. But Easter Sunday on my senior year in high school, I chose Gonzaga out of just three other schools. Is all two other schools, two Division I schools.
Yeah.
And then I was attending in the fall, so I forewent my baseball season that year. I had played varsity the 2 years prior, and I just said, look, if I'm going to be doing this the next 4 years, I better kind of zero in on it. So I started going down to Gonzaga every day, which I was anyway as a kid. I broke into that school constantly to
Yeah.
play. So I just played with their
That's cool.
guys and got ready for the next season. I thought it helped.
That was my next question was did you have this kind of all in like attitude from when you were younger, or did it develop like once you got to college and the level went up and the expectations went up? Is that when it kind of clicked and you're like, yeah, when did it click that you're like, I could be really good at this and I'm going to go all in?
Probably my third year in the NBA. I,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was never blessed with the confidence some of these guys come in with. I didn't think I was going to make my varsity in high school. And then I got the scholarship to go to Gonzaga, and I said, okay, well, they'll figure me out pretty soon. And but I'll just
Yeah.
keep trying. I'm going to lay it all out there. I was never hampered by expectations. Nobody was saying, "Wow, this kid's going to be something," and then I was a failure. I mean, I was grinding the whole time, and it probably wasn't until my second contract in the NBA that I felt like, well, maybe I'm not that bad after all. They're not going to figure out. Shame
That's
on them.
incredible.
They didn't figure
So
out I can't play, and here it was.
So was it like did you have this sort of imposter syndrome or was it more like a quiet confidence? Like you saw it as an advantage, like, hey, they're not expecting much, so I'm just gonna go out and grind and do my thing.
Closer to the second. I always felt, I mean, rap ball games, which was what my life was, sneaking into gyms, is I always felt they just let me in the game, I could help. And I passed,
Yeah.
because I would pass the ball, guys would let me in the next game, even if I couldn't do anything else. So I really enjoyed that challenge of winning, even though I knew I wasn't as good as the other guys, or if our team wasn't as good as the other guys, that underdog role. And I don't know that I don't think I faked it. It just kind of how it was.
Yeah. I think that's super cool. And just hearing you talk about it again, I'll bring up David probably multiple times just because I've played with him so much and that like he has that same exact competitive edge. You know what I mean? Which is why I love playing with him. Like whether it's a practice or obviously the game, but what's special about him, and I'm assuming he got this from you, is every game or every practice was like a game. And every one-on-one session that we do a little bit extra, especially when we were in Germany, we were playing a lot together, getting extra workouts in after our one-on-one sessions. And you can imagine those were interesting one-on-one. You know, me and David going against each other because we're center versus point guard, but we do it on the block. We do it from the top of the key, from the corner. Because we wanted to get better, and it was like he was in the NBA Finals, which is something I learned from him, and I absolutely loved about David. So yeah, I think that's really really cool. Fast forwarding, you say you get to the NBA, you finally get this confidence 3 years in, which is to me crazy, very unique. I think attitude because nowadays it's like guys get this confidence without having done anything. Like before they even get Division I scholarships or commit to a school, they have that confidence. So very very different approach. Um, Once you were here in Salt Lake and you had a little bit of confidence, like when was it that you started looking, or did you ever start looking outside of the court? Like, hey, I could actually start supplementing, my life, and I could do some jobs here, some deals here. Like, I could start building my brand. Was that ever anything that came to your mind once that kind of clicked, or not really?
I'm not sure I even heard the term "build my brand" till long
Yeah,
after I'd retired. You get approached from time to time. I did a couple commercials early on, and they were brought to me. In fact, I had the shoe company I was with at the time, so we'll do a commercial, and I did it because I thought I was required. And
Yeah.
we were doing the shoot,
Oh, funny.
and I'm on the shoot, and the guy goes, "Hey, aren't these the best?" I said, "Actually, no, I don't want any part of this." He goes, "Well, we don't need to do it. I get 30 calls a week, guys that want to do these ads.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, let's not." I mean, I thought it was part of the contract. So,
Yeah.
so I didn't enjoy those. I didn't enjoy the, people start recognizing you from the commercial sometimes. Hey, and they name the product. You're that guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that guy. I just play
Right.
basketball, take it or leave it. And so I found out fairly early that that's not something that was fun or interesting. Um,
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, do you think because you readily admit and you're okay being identified as like the basketball player, but did you just not like the other part that sometimes naturally came with it? Like you just didn't like being in the limelight was the biggest thing?
Boy, it's a good question.
Because you were going to be in the limelight regardless, obviously playing. So were you just trying to limit that? I guess I'm asking. I don't know. What do you think?
I didn't want to be famous at home. I didn't want to be
Yeah,
going home being Spokane. There's nothing I could do about Salt Lake, and even that took a while. I mean, the Jazz weren't the Jazz like they are now. Um, we were only known in Salt Lake pretty much for a good two
yeah,
three years, and I was fine with that. I enjoyed the fact that no matter where I went, I walked around in peace. Where when I walked with Mark Eaton, 7'4", he draws a lot of attention. People are,
yeah.
you don't get a meal in peaceful. So, or go to the restroom by yourself. It got interesting. And so I enjoyed the fact that I didn't have to deal with that except when I was with them. And so the commercials changed that, and they do definitely change it.
Right. Do you think long term, like looking back, that's also helped you stay out? It's kind of hard. Like being who you are, I'm sure lots and lots of people recognize you. But maybe some of that groundwork you did early by saying no to these things and making a conscious effort of staying out of the limelight has helped you. Like, has that paid off dividends now? Like, do you feel like you have a little bit more private life because of that?
Yeah, not just that, for sure. That, I mean, I think people, if you're out there and you're saying, "Hey, look, everybody come look at me all the time," then people are going to come. But if you're a normal person and you demand that of yourself and you demand it of your family, and I wouldn't say demand it of people around you, but kind of show that that's the space you live in. People have been really, for the most part, very, very respectful of that, and I think that
Yeah,
pays dividends over time. Also, you start endorsing and making a brand. There's always you lose a little bit of sincerity. You lose a little bit of true to your word type stuff. Again, those things are important because I remember doing an ad once where I never used the product, and I went,
yeah,
"Wow, there's something wrong with that." And
right,
so now hopefully now when I speak or we're talking now, that people go, "Well, he's going to give me a straight shot because
yeah,
why not?" That's what he's always done.
right.
That's what I'm hoping for. I hope people take it that way, but I don't have control over what they think.
No, for sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And when the time did come that you were done playing, like basketball was up to that point, basketball was your whole life. 19 years in the NBA, obviously also college, high school, from when you were a little kid. Did you feel you said you weren't really spending a whole lot of time setting things up, like quote unquote setting things up for after. So what did you do? Like, did you feel a loss of any purpose or any type of void? Like, what am I gonna do next? Like, were you bored? Like, what was that like for you? Was it hard to hang it up or not really?
Another great question, really, Eric. So I was totally involved, committed with the basketball, but the other thing literally demanded that wasn't going to be swayed was family. And
Yeah,
we had our time where they were included in games. They were included to the extent they could. They weren't in the locker room running around with us. They weren't bothering coach and the other players, things like that, but they were at the
right.
games. They were part of the discussions I have. And so I always felt like they were included in everything. But then you're also on the road a lot. And I started missing more and more of their games, their events, their recitals, their everything. So the moment I retired, my wife said that there was just a relaxation. It was a very awful feeling for 3 days at least. But my wife said, look, you just relax. Everything, all the weight came off. And what I did from that point forward, I mean, we moved back to Spokane. It took us till football season started for the kids that following August to make a decision whether we were going to stay in Salt Lake or move back to my hometown where my parents were.
Yeah.
And we finally made the decision, and we had nothing. We had no school plan, no AAU plan, football, basketball, baseball, nothing. And again, my kids aren't 6'11", where everybody said, "Well, come play for us." So we had to grind that out.
Yeah.
I had to assistant coach, I think 9 different teams: soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, football. Please, just let these kids come in. And so I was a busy boy. I jumped right into the fire of that, and go from a high school basketball practice to a 8th grader
Yeah.
basketball practice to a 3rd grader soccer game, in one day.
Yeah.
So I was busy, and it was fun.
Maybe more busy than before,
Way,
but just totally with the family the entire time.
way more busy.
Do you feel like, and to me, that's a huge blessing and something that's so key, and probably in your transition, it sounds like. Did you have teammates that you saw that didn't have that when they finished, like, did have that void, let's call it, like they didn't have that foundation that you had, and so maybe they were lost when they finished?
Well, you see it a lot. You see a lot, not so much with my teammates, but you see it a lot with high-profile professional athletes, for example, where they come back. That they
Yeah.
haven't yet scratched that itch, or they haven't filled that void, and that's neither good nor bad. Gosh, I used to wake up dreaming that I was back in the locker room, but I could never ever get back in the game. It was kind of interesting stuff, or dream that I was going back. I never intended to do that. My itch was scratched, and I had
Yeah.
plenty to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, 19 years is a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of people love talking about your longevity. Like, I think it was 22 games. Again, you can fact check me on anything I say. 22 games you missed in 19 years. You probably get asked this question all the time. I'm going to ask it one more time. How do you do that? Like, was there one particular thing, or was it just like a balance that you had in life that helped you stay healthy? Like, what was it? What was your secret?
Well, yeah, there will be one particular thing I get to. I don't want to miss it, but preparation, number one. I never got out of shape in 19 years. I mean, the season would end. After my first 3 seasons, I'd be in a rat ball game. I'd fly home the day after our team meetings and be in a rat ball game that day and working out that day also. So, and then all my activities: water skiing, hiking, mountain biking, everything I did was active. So
Yeah.
conditioning never, ever, ever faltered, and that gives you a great chance not to get hurt, because you
Right.
just don't have any breakdowns. The biggest thing, Craig Bueller, he was a team chiropractor with the Jazz.
Yeah, I know, Craig.
He's a miracle worker and kept me balanced for 19 years. I just owe a ton to him. If you want to get into that, I can, but he's special.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. I think you also touched on what we mentioned earlier. Like, you were essentially a multi-sport athlete during your career, because the off-season you'd go and do other sports. Like, they were extreme sports and a little bit different than like traditional team sports. But doing that, I would assume, trained your body, trained your muscles to stay in shape, but also work muscles that maybe basketball normally doesn't. So I think that's super, super unique. I don't know if you remember. You remember Kyle Collinsworth, one of my teammates at BYU?
Yes.
I mean, the last 3 years he's been playing overseas, and I mean, one of the best athletes I've ever known, and also stays in the best shape. Like, he's always in shape. And the last 3 off seasons, he barely touches a basketball. I mean, he plays ultimate frisbee, and he does karate, and then he does body weight stuff in his home gym. And I think, I'm starting, now that I'm getting a little bit older and smarter and trying not to, wear on my body. Like, that's what I want to prescribe to, is working my body in different ways. So I think that's really, really cool that you were doing that way before anybody else.
Yeah, it did
Sounds
for
like.
fun. So, like you talked about growing up playing basketball, I didn't have that expectations of. The sport was never not fun for me. It was never a job.
Yeah.
And similarly,
Yeah.
you go out water skiing, you're going to get all the conditioning you need. Or you go
Right.
riding a mountain bike, you need all the conditioning you need up a hill, down a hill, as fast as you can go. It's you get all you need, and it was
Yeah.
fun though.
That's cool. All right, just to be conscious of time, I want to finish with, we have kind of like this rapid fire, 4 or 5 quick questions. The first is, well, I guess not really part of the rapid fire, but what's next for you and the Stockton crew? It sounds like you guys are all be in Spokane. Are you going down to Puerto Rico to watch David? Are you like, what's your guys' next trip? What are you guys doing
Life's
What's
still
what's
pretty.
up and coming for Stockton's?
Well, we're expanding. I mean, we have kids that are having kids, and
Expanding.
that's pretty
We're
cool.
expanding. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm already in love with all our grandkids. I think as everybody talks about it, it's everything that's cracked up to be, and that's fun. Watching that next stage, and some of them are actually starting sports, which is fun. And
Yeah.
we got a lot of guys still in the game. Michael's still playing overseas.
Yep.
David, he's in Puerto Rico now, but we'll see where he ends up next year. Laura's going to play in Germany next year. Sam, we don't know what he's doing after his season. So a lot of basketball still in our world, which is fun.
Yeah.
And it's a shared love, if that's the best way to say it. But that doesn't mean there aren't other adventures out there, and we're seeking them out, and it's fun to do it with people you love.
That's cool. Yeah. Here are the quote unquote
I'll do the
rapid fire
best I can
questions.
now. I'm not quite as
These
nimble.
might be tough. These might be tough for you. The first one is your hidden talent. Do you have a hidden talent?
I don't know that I have any talent.
I doubt that.
Okay, mowing the lawn. I'm
Mowing the
a
lawn.
decent yard care guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna call it yard care.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
call it
like
yard
that.
care. And I'll let it pass as hidden, even though technically you are putting it out for display. So, the other one is the funniest teammate you ever had.
Funniest team I ever had was
Yeah, most entertaining, biggest character, whatever, however you want to put it.
teammate. Did you say Daryl
Yeah,
Dawkins?
teammate,
Daryl Dawkins.
Daryl Dawkins.
Yeah,
Why
he
is
only
that?
played with
What
us
made him
about a
funny?
month, but there was a riot.
Really, he had that big of an impression on you in just a month.
It's part of the
He,
reason why I only played with us a month. But yeah, I mean, what a funny. He was a great guy, rest his soul. But he was a very, very funny guy and had us all in stitches all the time.
that's awesome. And what is the moment that lives, let's say, rent free in your head? Like whether it's a certain play or a game that you were a part of. What's the one that you think back to the most? That was like the greatest play that you were a part of.
Well, when we went ended up we beat Houston. I made the last shot, but
Yep.
it was that moment, and actually the moment after the shot. It's the sense of you want short answer, so that was it. If you want me to explain, I will.
Explain.
It was the team that how I mean we all gathered in this thing, and we had exercised all these demons. We lost to Houston a number of times in the playoffs, and Portland
Yeah.
Trailblazers,
Right.
Clyde, and all those guys, Charles, all these guys are on that team. It was such a tremendous accomplishment to finally get over that hump, and that
Yeah.
feeling with my teammates after that game was it.
That's cool. All right. Two more. One is I know you're not watching every single game, right? Like we already had this discussion. I don't either. I would understand why you don't. Um, but is there an NBA player currently playing that you watch and you go, man, he would have been a really, really tough guard, like a really tough guard for me?
Yeah, just about everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's how I felt when I played. But Steph Curry, and it's not so much he'd have been really tough guard, which I'm sure he would be. But when I've watched him play, my mind immediately goes to how would I try to guard him? And then
Yeah.
there's always a trial and error with that. Even though I've thought that it might work, you just never know until you're actually out there. And I would wonder
Right.
how he
How
would
he'd
guard us.
respond. Yeah. Where would he have trouble guarding someone like you or someone from your era?
Well, I think everybody have trouble guarding guys in our era. I mean, it was more physical. There were more screens. There were more passing. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think Carl Malone, for example, with the smaller guys across the board, I think he'd score 70 points a night just by the way we played. We
Yeah.
pounded it. We valued two pointers because a lot of N ones with the two pointers, and I think it'd
Yeah.
be difficult. But again, we'd have our struggles with all the shooting too. I think spreading the
Right.
ball.
It's cool. I mean, and for that reason, it's tough to really ever compare, right? And then last one to send you out. Who are three people that I need to reach out to and get on this podcast? Who has sort of these same principles and things in mind as you, and found ways to transition easier. They set themselves up, whether it was with family or business ventures or connections outside of that, whatever it was. Who do you think I should try and have on this podcast?
Well, try to have him, and whether you get him, I mean, believe it, Carl Malone is a tremendous businessman,
Hmm.
and he always was smart. He's always very observant. Uh, he's he's some guy. He's a guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Always have. But I had no
Yeah.
idea this part of him.
Hmm.
Um, I think Jeff transitioned. Jeff Hornacek. It was
Yeah.
pretty seamless for him, and he knew what he wanted to do. That's the only difference. He knew right from the get go. I'm coaching when this is all done.
Right.
Everybody's done well. Mark Eaton, rest his soul again. These are some sad losses. Um,
Yeah.
Tremendous public speaker, and just a good man. Um, yeah, a lot of those guys we're talking about when became Ty Corbin became a coach. So there's a bunch
Yep.
of guys.
Great. No, that's awesome. John, I can't thank you enough. This is really really awesome. We can't tell you how appreciative we are of you taking your time out of your busy summer with your kids. I think I think that there's definitely some gems in here that kids need to hear. I mean, you have how old is James now? James is 9,
He's
8.
8. Yeah,
He's 8. So he's coming up right in that age of really diving in deep into sports. Now we see the younger you are, it's like the more you get roped in, right?
yeah, true.
Um, so we appreciate you kind of giving this knowledge to the next generation. It sounds like you're doing that every single day with your kids and grandkids. If I could just one more, just as I was talking about James, I'm like one more question. Like, what's the one thing sports taught you in all your years playing, and 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 how that differs from what life after sports has taught you? If you don't mind, I'm just thinking about this as I'm talking.
Why?
Trying to send you out. I was trying to send you out. I couldn't do it.
How does it differ? It doesn't. I mean, the lessons that my dad and mom taught me about being prepared, about being grateful, um, about appreciating what other people are bringing to the table or bringing against you, and meeting those challenges. I mean, nothing is different. Uh,
Right.
yeah, so I hope that helps you.
That's awesome. No, that really does. Hearing it from you is going to be a big help for a lot of people. So, thank you times a million. I'll schedule us out for about 6 months from now. I'll make sure to reach out, and if I don't see you in passing, I'll make sure to ping you so that we get that 6 month cycle going.
Let's keep it going. I like it. It's nice talking to you, Eric. Good luck with this.
Okay, thank you, John. Have a great day.
You too.
We'll see you,
Bye.
man. Okay, bye. Stop. Just hit stop.